Well, today, let's talk about medical people attempting to do prevention when they don't understand control systems. I say that with respect, but they can't do it. And the most dedicated can't do it. And it's sad, really. Of course, I admit my own faults as a child, and it's universal. But you don't help the child by putting the child into a strong minus lens when the child is 20/50. But they all do it. So here is an ophthalmologist, medical doctor, PhD, who advocates prevention. But she uses the word strain, and a control system does not strain. And that causes everything to break down. No prevention, no discussion, no solution. That's why I talk about a meta-eye or a meta-dynamic eye concept, where all eyes control themselves to the average of accommodation. If you're any kind of engineer designing control systems, you will understand the concept. And if you understand the concept, like Rupert Wong understands it, you don't put your kids in a minus lens. You have a Snellen, and you make sure they always pass the DMV, and you keep after them to do that. And the kid can't do it. The parents must keep after the kids to do it. And that's the only solution possible. Even the medical doctors don't keep after the kids to keep their nose off the page, which tells you a massive story. They're not concerned, and they don't think you could do it, and they're not interested anyway. Particularly that David Hunter, I guess, 8 years old, doing that, had a negative refractive state for the completely normal eye. Let me put it that way. And you don't do that to a control system, but he did it. And he's not a control system engineer, and he doesn't care anyway. And the public's as ignorant as he was and remains. So the issue becomes, how do you conduct a study when the medical doctor doesn't understand what a control system is, the whole concept? And of course you don't. But unfortunately, that ignorance will block the study, because the medical person will say it's medical, therefore we must make the measurements. And that's a kiss of death for any prevention study. So no study takes place, no prevention is offered, the whole situation is denied, all because David Hunter likes a minus lens when he's 8 years old. If you think I'm wrong about that, please raise that issue. I destroyed my vision, I know. That's what kids do. And no, you can't help a kid. Even the parents can't help the kid. But I would see there where an engineer who just drifted down from positive refraction to negative refraction could understand enough to do what I'm doing, while prevention is still possible, where he makes all objective measurements that I am making. It's either that or nothing. So let's talk about a most dedicated ophthalmologist. Kaisu Viikari, I guess it's a mirror image. What did she do right and what did she do wrong? I show her again because she's positive refraction. 20/20, always had it. So she writes several books, and she sent them to me. Deeply appreciated. But it's always strain, accommodation strain. It's not strain. The fundamental eyes at birth, positive refraction, is not strain. And I hate to be a critic. Another book, ocular accommodation. It's wonderful. But she never thinks to have the person, engineer, make the refractive measurements himself. I can't see where a study could take place, engineering scientific, where the man is not an engineer and does not understand the concept of a control system, where all eyes at birth are control systems. The meta dynamic eye concept. In that case, change accommodation, the eye changes accordingly. Anybody with a math background will understand it, I think, when they're 20, 40, entering college. And as per the Naval Academy, they're all required to have 20/20. And during 4 years at the Academy, when their refractive zero state was 0, 20/20, it went down by 1 diopter in 4 years, which means they were kicked out of the Academy because they couldn't qualify after 4 years of doing that. That type of person, if he's in electrical engineering, should be offered a choice, in which case he would be making the measurements I make. It would not be cure, it would not be recovery, it would be prevention. And that gentleman would be doing exactly what I'm doing. It's basically what Rupalong's doing. Keep the node, get rid of the close work. And get rid of the close work. She keeps her kid's eyes 20 inches off the page. There's 20 inches. None of this type of thing, which many kids do. So you're giving a person a choice. It is, my Snellen's reading 20/50, let's say, and I'm entering 4-year college. And I know if I do continue to this, I'll go down at approximately 1/2 diopter per year. I have these statistics if you want to look at them. So during 4 years, starting at 2050, you'll be doing this. When you read Kaisu's book, prevent is the right word, but the person himself must make the measurements to prevent when he's at 2050. It's a hard decision to make because people don't like to do this. Understandable. But it's an either or choice at 2050 because in 4 years you'll go down, once you're at 2050, at a steady rate of 1/2 diopter per year. Standard rate you'll see in college students once you start down to 2050. So, of course, after Jacob Rafelson, it was clear that the public is not interested, doesn't want to do anything, and will not do anything. It requires intelligence, motivation, engineering smarts. Let's be clear about that. And the final analysis, at 2040, you'll sit down and with 2 diopter lens, 2.5, you can read clearly at 20 inches through a 2 diopter lens. If you're just slightly nearsighted, the optics are correct for that. So, but the discipline of doing this, which is what I've been doing for 12 years, 15 years, it's very real. Now, and saying that, none of you look at a Snellen, not even the cell phone Snellen, which would be a good start. So I get tired of talking to you about it. You don't get it. Too bad. So where are we? So let's say you do decide to work with a Snellen. Your goal is not 20/20. Your goal is to pass the DMV. You don't, if you're trying to say, oh, I got to get 20/20, must have 20/20, you're crazy. It's not required. What is required is pass the DMV. That's 20/60 one eye, 20/40 the other eye. And then the price is long-term doing this. I have no problems doing it. And certainly after Rafelson, I realized that was the only way. And Rafelson couldn't do it for you. He had his kids doing it. They never became nearsighted. He had them, obviously, the discipline of eyes no closer than 15 inches, let's say. But you sit down to read, put the +2s on and read them. You ought to try it sometime. If you don't have a Snellen, you're not going to make it. You won't accomplish anything because Kaisu can't do it for you. They think that they can prescribe it and do something. No, that will never work. For anyone medical, you're getting the wrong advice, or to the heart, yes, but it won't work. It can never work. So unless people change their mind, I really have to say, control system engineers and people could conceptualize, understand the meta-dynamic eye, and then you look at experimental data and it makes sense. But I can't go beyond that point. And if you're thinking for some magic cure, some doctor will do something or prescribe something, hell will freeze over before that happens. And I say with great respect to Kaisu, but that's what they don't understand. The person himself must be old enough and mature enough to understand the concept before they start doing anything. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. So if you have your own thoughts, now I always add Pilot, who previously had 20/20, and once it went down to 20/50, and now he wants to change his refractive state from -0.5 to +0.5, in which case you'll be going to be wearing plus until you pass the DMV or far better. Add your own commentary. I really appreciate Kaisu Viikari, but she doesn't understand that. The person must make the measurement himself. If he doesn't do that, you don't have a study, you don't have science, and you don't understand the meta-eye. And it's all up to you. And once you've gotten too deep into nearsightedness, it is too late. And that break point is about 2050. Add your commentary. Thank you.